Televised football punditry in the UK, in my view, has never been as poor as it is now. Whether it's Daniel Sturridge using the term stanky leg to describe what Brian Mbeumo does to defenders, Micah Richards' lack of knowledge of clubs outside of the top six, or Michael Owen's struggles with the English language, there seems to be no real room for insight. In this video, I'm going to critically evaluate Roy Keane as a football pundit. Not as a person, not as a player, not as a guest on the overlap, but as a football pundit. Before I begin, I want to highlight that football pundits can be referred to as respect experts. Many of their judgments are not verifiable. So within certain boundaries, we cannot easily know or uncontroversially define the true value at which judgments are aiming. Punditry falls in this category, despite the fact that we refer to them as experts. The confidence that we have in these experts' judgments is entirely based on the respect that they enjoy from their peers. Just because Gary Neville said it doesn't necessarily mean that it's closer to the mark than what your mate said down the pub. Roy Keane is regarded as one of the greatest midfielders of his generation. He won 19 major trophies in his club career, 17 of them with Manchester United, a club which he captained from 1997 until his departure in 2005. Roy Keane joined Sky Sports as a studio analyst for the 1920 Premier League season, having previously worked for Sky Sports and ITV in the same role. Roy Keane once said that he would rather go to the dentist than become a pundit, having previously been a guest in the Sky Sports studio. Initially, I really liked Roy Keane as a pundit. Given how pampered the modern player is, his no-nonsense, brutally honest assessment of players, matches and incidents was a breath of fresh air. He didn't pull any punches like his colleagues, typically speaking in a raw, unfiltered way that made him come across as both genuine and passionate. If I was a Manchester United fan, I would want Roy Keane in the Sky Sports studio to cover my team's games, especially after a poor performance. You feel like a lot of Manchester United fans live vicariously through Keane as he berates the players after an awful showing. He speaks like a fan and he doesn't seem to care who he upsets. He calls it as he sees it, seldom making excuses for players and not deflecting from their individual performances by talking about the ownership situation, the state of the stadium, the inadequacy of the training facilities. He wants to talk about what he can see on the pitch. He wants to discuss the actual football match that took place, the 11 players representing the club that he captained for 8 years. Something else that I liked and continue to like about Roy Keane's punditry is something that he was not really known for during his playing career, and that is his humour. His stern demeanour appears to be easing somewhat over the years as he engages in more media work. His comedic timing is excellent, which is often showcased at subtle digs, typically at Gary Neville's expense, and some of his hilarious anecdotes on the overlap. I've seen a lot of criticism of Roy Keane for his pessimistic outlook, but it's not his disposition that bothers me personally. It's the level of insight that he offers. I don't particularly care that he doesn't like over-the-top celebrations or players swapping shirts with one another. However, when a team's midfield is being overrun, you would like to hear what he would be telling the player or players alongside him. What would the teams that he have played for do to get a grip of this game? Is there a tactical element as to why this team is getting overrun in the middle? What would he do if he was a manager in this situation? Roy Keane has been a manager. Surely he's capable of at least some tactical insight. He spends far too much time focusing on the mental side of the game, which of course is a hugely important aspect of any sport. I know this is something that ex-NFL pundits have been heavily criticised for as well. But even Keane's input on that front appears to be limited to two words: character and personality. He might throw in the odd nonsense or disgrace every now and then as well. Clinton Morrison, undoubtedly one of the worst pundits that works for Sky Sports, his analysis also seems to be limited to two words or phrases even: to be fair and ever so well. And then you have the likes of Paul Merson. Are there really no articulate ex-professional footballers? Roy Keane is becoming a caricature of himself. You can even see this subtle smirk appear in his face when he says something that his fellow panellists would deem to be a bit too harsh. He's clearly aware of what he's doing, and I have no doubt that this is something that Sky encourage him to do. They can then click it up, add their clickbaity titles with the angry face emojis, and boost their engagement on social media. Roy Keane sells. Keane constantly talks about professionalism and having your teammates' backs, yet he let his country down on the biggest possible stage, flouncing home during a World Cup when he was the captain of Ireland because of a fallout with the manager. Keane, to be fair, certainly did have a point with some of his criticisms of the FAI structure at the time, and he did say that he should have put his personal issues with Mick McCarthy, the Irish manager at the time, to one side for the sake of the country. However, he is also on record for saying that he would do the same thing again tomorrow, so who knows. He was also sent off 13 times in his career, which is the joint most in English football, and he recently said that he didn't regret a single one of them. I would be tempted to call him a hypocrite, but in all fairness, he gave absolutely everything every time he stepped on a football pitch. He was a born leader and an incredible footballer. He never let any of his teams down in a footballing sense, but he certainly showcased a real lack of professionalism throughout his career with some of his antics. In conclusion, I think Roy Keane is a no-nonsense, passionate and entertaining football pundit. I would like to see a bit more insight from a tactical perspective, and I do think he plays to the gallery at times with some of the things that he says, but I'm usually fairly happy to see Keane in the Sky Sports studio. Before I finish this video, I completely appreciate this is my opinion not only on Roy Keane, but on how punditry should be. And I'm sure there are people out here who actually like this shift towards entertainment at the expense of insight. You could argue that there are already some great segments dedicated to analysing football matches out there. So sports journalism websites such as The Athletic, and there's several YouTubers who dedicate themselves to deepening our understanding of the game. And you might ask, is it really necessary to have this in the studio? Well, if it's in favour of the comedy show that is Super Sunday, that prefers to speak about or forensically analyse handshakes between managers as opposed to the actual game of football that took place, then I would argue that it's almost disrespectful to the sport that we all love. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what you agree or disagree with in the comments section. Give the video a like and hit subscribe for more football related content. Cheers.